Hello, welcome back to the Jacksonville History Show. I'm Emily Rutherford-Liska, Executive Director of the Jacksonville Historical Society, and I have with me now the Senior Historic Preservation Planner with the City of Jacksonville and the city's Planning and Development Department, Lisa Sheppard. Lisa, did I get all of that correct?
I think you did.
And Lisa, for many years, how many years now have you been putting together the annual Historic Preservation Commission award ceremony?
15 years.
15 years. So
Yes.
this is the 15th anniversary of your awards. And what strikes me every year when I attend this marvelous ceremony, it really is inspiring, is how many people in Jacksonville and beyond are involved in major projects to promote or save this city's history. It is awe-inspiring. And we're going to get going because you have many projects to tell about within the last year, and all of these people, individuals, groups, businesses, are award winners in the eyes of the Historic Preservation Commission, and very deservedly so, as people hear what they've done. So you're going to start, as I understand today, with heritage education and publication projects and what's happened there for Jacksonville within the past year.
Yes. Our first book that we recognized was The Perfect Ending, and this was basically a book that was put together by the son of the coach at Gilbert High School during the 1958 championship. They won, were undefeated that year, and unfortunately they did not get a lot of recognition here locally, being that they were a black school and it was a black championship. But the coach wanted to make sure that they were recognized, and their 50th anniversary came around, and they did recognize it quite a bit, and the son of the coach wanted to recognize that in putting together this record book that recorded not only his father, the coach, but the team and the high school and their 50 years late coming recognition.
Yes, of the recognition in his son's name, and that is Earl Kitchen.
And the great thing about the awards, we actually had a lot of the players in the audience, and they came up to the stage.
That was fun to see. It really was.
Our next book is Jacksonville Southside, and this was a great kind of a picture book that went through a number of the main arteries that lead through the south side of town and highlighted some of the areas and photographs associated, old photographs associated with that part of town.
And a lot of people forget it was its own township, which is considered
That's
kind
right.
of the San Marcos South Bank today for a time.
And Deborah Webb Rogers was the author for that. And the third book is Almost Hollywood, The Forgotten Story of Jacksonville, Florida. And this was a book about the silent film industry here in the early part of the 1900s. And kind of an interesting part of this book that we recognize was that the author wrote it when he was recovering from a brain tumor. He's got a passion for silent film, and but his mother encouraged him to write a book, and he was very specific that he wanted to write one about Jacksonville's history. And
it is an exciting and for a long time was a very unknown history. In the last 10 to 20 years, more attention in that area. And the winner of that award, of course, and the author,
Blair Miller. The next one is Zora, Neale, Hurston, in and around Jacksonville, Florida in the 1920s, 30s, and 1940s. And interesting thing about this, the woman that wrote this book actually knew her. She was very young, but was in the same household for a brief period of time, and so she would see Zora as she visited Jacksonville. And so a lot of it is her recollections, and it's quite an interesting read. I actually got a little carried away reading it rather than doing our scripts for our preservation awards, hoping to get back to it. It just highlighted all these interesting stories about Zora, and it's a very interesting story. The woman wrote it when she was 95.
I was going to ask, and she is
never too late.
And she's quite the character, and delightful, beautiful, wonderful. What an exciting author to meet, yes, and to have awarded here in the city of Jacksonville.
Of course, Ms. Morrell is the author. And then our next category, Heritage Education Exhibits, Productions, and Collections. The first one you might be a little familiar with, the Jack H. King collection. This gentleman who I guess used to be here, or grew up in Jacksonville, but is now living in the Orlando area. I guess this is kind of a passion for him, is to find memorabilia and historical items about Jacksonville and send them to the Historical Society so they're properly preserved and part of a collection now that the whole public can access.
This wonderful man, a graduate of Andrew Jackson, Jack H. King, is tireless in doing this, and we are so grateful, and the city is the more fortunate for these marvelous pieces of Jacksonville history he finds everywhere.
And of course, we recognize both the Historical Society and Mr. King. The next one, More Than a Game, African American Sports in Jacksonville, 1900 through 1975. And this was a local exhibit by the
Ritz.
Yes,
yes,
thank you.
The Ritz,
the Ritz Theater and Museum. And apparently it was an idea that they had for a while, but it was Coach Johnson, the president of the African American Coaches, Game Officials and Athletes Association, basically organized a number of the people in his organization to help put on the exhibit, and they got in touch with the old players and found a lot of the documents that were associated with this time period to put on the exhibit. And there was a small video that was put together by WJCT Creative Works that helped promote that.
That's the actual award, and the winners as well.
And the next one of my personal favorites, is Conversations on Catfish, Courtrooms, and Change. And this is a great documentary that was put together by Stunt Dog Productions, which is the son of local attorney Bill Sheppard. And it was basically documenting the Honorable Henry Lee Adams Jr. And his incredible story of growing up here in Jacksonville during segregated times and being really inspired by lawyers and how much they were accomplishing in way of tackling segregation. And so he went on to become a lawyer and a judge. This is basically recording his life, basically, and accomplishments, and talking about him becoming one of the member of the first integrated law firm. So,
do you know where that was shown, Lisa, that documentary, or how it can be seen? Have any idea?
I know that if you do a search online, you can find it.
You will find it.
Yes.
Okay, and that would be Conversations on Catfish, Courtrooms, and Change.
Yes, I think it's like 28 minutes, and it's really
Fabulous.
interesting. I mean, if I had watched that when I was growing up, I probably would have gone into law. It was very inspiring. And then, of course, we honored the judge, Bill Sheppard, and Stunt Dog Productions. The next category, Heritage Education Events. The Gingerbread House Extravaganza, again, another topic that you might know a little bit about.
A little bit.
This was a real interesting award. You know, people might think of it as just a great Christmas. I think it's becoming a tradition here in Jacksonville to go to the Gingerbread Extravaganza. But the interesting thing that a lot of people don't know is that you have the tours of the Merrill House. The historical Merrill House is part of that. And a lot of the entries, I think some of the more interesting ones, are actual reproductions of historic buildings here in Jacksonville. And I guess this year you also added the Junior League
theme trees,
yes,
with Florida themes. Even the snow trees had Florida themes, believe it or not. So it was fun, and it's a little more fluff. It's a lot of fun at the holidays, but we work a lot of history into the event.
Well, kids and adults, I think, enjoy it both. And here are some great examples of some of the historic buildings that have been highlighted through the years.
And City Hall up in the corner, yeah.
And we honored the Jacksonville Historical Society, the Junior League of Jacksonville Sustainers, Joanne Purdy, who was the event chair, and E.J. McIntyre, who does some of those fabulous reproductions of historic buildings. The next event was the 98th Annual ASALH Convention, and this is an annual convention that is put on. I think Jacksonville was a little overdue to have it here. We have such a rich history when it comes to African American individuals that have really contributed nationally. And it was the local branch of ASALH that helped bring it here. And
I'm going to say it's the Association of the Study of African American Life.
Thank you very much.
They were a formidable group. You could see them all over downtown, all the members. They were all wearing their wonderful colors and name tags.
It was a great event to bring to Jacksonville.
Event. Yes,
and I think it helped highlight a lot of our local history that sometimes we forget locally. So We honored the James Weldon Johnson branch of ASALH, Visit Jacksonville and the Beaches, and the Honorable Senator Tony Hill. The next category, the next award was the 60th anniversary celebration of the Mathews Bridge. And basically, Old Arlington Inc. Took this opportunity, this birthday, to celebrate their fabulous neighborhood over there. I guess the bridge basically provided the connection to the Arlington neighborhood and really kind of paved the way for all the development on the south side in that area. And the event was really cool. There were a ribbon cutting, and they did another procession across the bridge with old cars, just like it was done the very first day that it opened. And everyone went back to the Norman Film Studios, and there were lots of displays and just kind of a real good celebration, not only of the bridge, but of the neighborhood. And this was right around the time that they were doing work on the bridge. So I think there was a lot of thank yous to making sure that that bridge was properly saved and preserved.
And of course, the bridge had originally opened in 1953. And Lisa, I just have to say quickly, I remember the first time at age 16, I just got my driver's license and I drove over the bridge, the Mathews. I was scared, frightened, you name it. But
I think all new drivers have that experience when they go over that bridge.
But I did feel
it's
my
really
freedom.
high up there.
It was exciting. So that's been a much beloved bridge in our city's history, and a marvelous job celebrating it by that group.
And we celebrated the organizers of that event, the Old Arlington Inc., Norman Studios, Circle of Faith Ministries, and Rosemary Wesolowski. I think I pronounced that right.
I think you did.
Our next category is preservation projects or service by an organization. Restoration of the Old St. Joseph's Catholic Cemetery, and this area, or this cemetery, which is, I guess, right next to Old City Cemetery.
It is indeed the Old Willie Cemetery, also better known as Old City Cemetery on Union Street.
And it had kind of fallen into some issues with some vandalism, and there were some local groups that kind of stepped up. The Sons of Confederate Veterans, Kirby Smith Camp 1209, along with Friends of Old St. Joseph's Catholic Cemetery, which was organized to kind of address this issue of vandalism and issues with the cemetery, and the Diocese of St. Augustine. And together, the camp was instrumental in repairing a lot of the monuments, and the Friends of Old St. Joseph's Catholic Cemetery helped with some of the cleaning, and then the diocese helped with repairing of a wall and properly signing it, so you knew what area of the cemetery you were in.
It was a marvelous project, really, and we need more cemetery restoration in this city, so I hope people watch their lead and follow along.
The next is the restoration of San Jose Estate Gates, and this was very typical of a lot of developments or subdivisions where you had those signature gates to let you know where you were entering this new neighborhood. Through the years, one of them was completely demolished, and the other one, probably a lot of your audience is driven by it on San Jose and not thought much about it, and it was just kind of sitting there really decaying, and you had a local group that stepped forward, the Rotary Club of San Jose, Jacksonville, Florida, that stepped up to make sure that that monument was properly restored, and I think there's still some things that they want to do, but it's really a kind of an incredible story of a local group putting together a project and seeing restoration of a important structure. "50 years of service devoted to preserving Southern history," and this went to the I'm going to mispronounce this, Southern Genealogist Exchange Society. I always struggle over that word, genealogist.
I do too, so I was glad you were saying it.
Again, another birthday, 50 years of service to our community. They provide all kinds of services. They have a local library. They provide internet services to a number of sites that help with genealogy research. They've done publications, and they've been involved with cemetery research, helping record some of the graves.
And all of this for 50 very solid years. And we have about 4 to 5 minutes left, so we're going to work in as many as we can in that time. And we're going to go to the preservation service by an individual, and this is monumental, this next one.
Yes, the Maple Leaf, the sinking of the Union steamship Maple Leaf happened off of, well, in the St. Johns River off of, I guess, near Mandarin.
Mandarin Point.
And was underwater for 120 years, basically
before
forgotten.
it was approached, yes.
And we had a local, Dr. Keith V. Holland, basically it became his passion to make sure that this shipwreck was found and that its contents was recovered
At
and
enormous
preserved.
expense and time, I mean, even had to file suit in the U.S. court to pursue this. So.
And the Maple Leaf, there's an exhibit right now in Mandarin that you can go visit for further information to see some of the great things that was recovered.
But his work is considered, it's the find he discovered is considered the greatest repository of Civil War artifacts anywhere. Right there, still in the river in Mandarin Point, much of it, and he brought up about 3,000 pieces, and just monumental.
The next one is restoration of the Cummer's Olmsted Garden, and many of you probably have seen or visited the gardens at the Cummer. This is a new garden that has been recently restored that was next door. It was Clara Cummer's garden, and it was really in a state of basically forgotten for a number of years, and as you can see from the photos, just beautifully restored. So you need to make another trip to the Cummer to check that out. Residential rehab, we have 55 East 3rd Street, and the big thing on this project was a beautiful restoration of the floors in this building. I'm not sure the timing of your show, but it's going to be highlighted on the upcoming Springfield home tour, so definitely check that out. Brian and Emily Balkman and Glory Holmes was recognized. Next is 3658 Riverside Avenue, and this was a couple that were downsizing and found this little bungalow. It was just a shell, and they had beautifully restored it. Doug and Cindy Guy and Capella Homes were recognized. And commercial rehab, 1922 Felch Avenue, which is the Broward studio. Basically, when Bob Broward basically, I guess, retired and left the studio, it had kind of got into a state of disrepair, having sat there, and it was recently restored. And it was his daughter, Christiana Broward Barnes, sorry. Catherine Duncan, architect, and RD Cheapwood Construction Company that were responsible.
Wonderful rehabilitation it was.
This is on Park Street, the new Hawkers restaurant. Just kind of really a sad looking building to begin with, and the interesting part about this is that the local, or not the local, but the restaurateurs that brought it here did so much of the work to make it what it is today.
We have one category remaining.
Architecturally compatible new construction, 1501 San Marco Boulevard. And the pictures speak volumes. A beautiful project over in San Marco. 714 Stockton Street in Riverside Avenue, vacant lot to a beautiful bungalow design. 3611 St. John's Avenue, otherwise known as Mellow Mushroom, old gas station, and now a beautiful restaurant. And 2312 River Road, again, a beautiful new residence in the San Marco area.
Indeed it is, and I'll tell you, all deserving award winners. Lisa, I want to thank you for being here, and I'm going to tell you, for now, we're history. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Lisa.